What's going on, everybody? Doc, your average gamer guys, back again. Last day on Earth action. And we got a fun one here for you today. I had probably shared this in a recent video, taking a look at what we have here. After the most recent Hunter's Instinct event, we got access to at least a few new weapons, craftable weapons, which is pretty cool. Ranged weapons at that actually can potentially be pretty helpful. So today, I want to take a look. We're going to do some testing of the bow, some testing of the makeshift crossbow, and we're going to throw the regular crossbow in. Now, a few of these things have obviously been here, but the makeshift crossbow is actually pretty interesting, pretty new. If you are not somebody who plays a lot of multiplayer, this is a weapon that first debuted over in the crater in the multiplayer zone. So that is pretty cool. We do get it over here. This came in handy for probably a good portion of you during the Hunter's Instinct event. If you, for instance, didn't have the ability to maybe get into the crossbow, or maybe you're a little bit earlier on, this certainly is at least in that event, was a decent ranged option. So what I want to do today is test them a little bit. And let's take a look at what we got. So I have a few melee weapons. We're here in the farm. Figure it was probably a pretty decent testing ground, so we're going to give some things a go here. So the two crossbows currently outside of the Hunter's Instinct blade sharpening, whatever it was, mod that we're able to get, they cannot get any mods on them. So they're just base as what they are. Makeshift crossbow coming in at 50 damage, 0.6 speed. We also have the crossbow, which is a little bit faster and comes in an additional 20 damage per shot. I did bring a fully modified point-blank shot bow. This is, I believe, the best in slot bow. We have everything built, all of the mods built on it, and taking a look at the DPS as well as obviously being able to get the active skill. This is where this sets up. I don't think this is going to perform at all even close to either of the other two, and it's probably going to be relatively apparent before we do some testing on these that the standard crossbow is going to be better than the makeshift crossbow. But let's do a little bit of side-by-side comparison here to test these two ranged options. And as we take a look actually at being able to craft these, the bow here, very, very simple. If you were looking for a ranged weapon very, very early on, this is an option for you. You can utilize this to some pretty decent extent if you want to do that. Certainly, if you have the materials or you're just getting started out, this could be used. Bunker Alpha comes to mind if you're still kind of working on using the wall trick or just figuring out a good path for you and you don't really have any ranged weapons but still want to take the big guys down, the Frenzy Giants. This can be an option for you, and you can craft it relatively early. I would suggest, though, that if you can wait and if you can get a few of these additional materials, this is likely, and again, we'll test this to confirm, this is likely going to be monstrously better. Monstrously better from a damage perspective, probably even also from a just shooting perspective and those different options. But we didn't play around a whole lot with the makeshift crossbow during the Hunter's Instinct event, so I want to give that a go. We did do a lot here with the regular crossbow. This is much more expensive. Now, if you have an abundance of factory parts, an abundance of springs, and you're comfortable to make a lot of steel, that's not too terrible. Oak isn't bad. The aluminum wire and the tape, that's all fine. I would even be okay with the springs. Before factory parts is pretty restrictive, in my opinion. Steel plates can also be that, but if you are really in a pinch, it's an option. It's certainly an option. It does have really good DPS, so that's not too bad. So I just want to kind of take us through that, and let's just test a few things out. We'll just have some fun. We'll see what they're bringing to us. Let's first test a little bit of range with the crossbow, and we just full on missed. So we did what, 12 damage there, 13 damage, charge up a shot, 16 damage, 17 damage. We missed because we were holding it too long. 17 seems to be the go. Point blank shot ripped off really quick. So honestly, a fully modified crossbow on a basic enemy, not too terrible. We got a really fast power shot here at 19 damage. 15 damage. I want to just power this bad boy up again. There's a 31 damage. That might have been... It didn't look like a crit. Let's go ahead to see. This... I may have just been kind of sleeping on the crossbow here. This bad boy might not be so bad. Fully modified, of course. It looks really dope. I know it's kind of hard to see with me standing here, but it looks really cool. We got a little orange and yellow string. This little bow on there. That's neat. That's cool. That's cool. All right, that ripped off some pretty good damage. $12 there. I want to get him into a good perspective here so we can see. Power shot 38. Curious to see if we can get some consistency with this. So the one thing about the bow that you do need to understand is, unlike a lot of the other weapons, that was only 26. The longer you hold this back, at least to a certain extent, the more you're going to kind of power up the damage. But it also has a limiting factor. If you hold it too long, you are going to miss with your shot. So that was 25. So we're getting some variance in damage here. I don't think I can power this power shot up here. Oh, straight on. Durability wise, you see we're taking kind of a beating here. We've only killed 3 enemies with this. I mean, that wasn't bad. This honestly isn't that bad with the active skill and the rest of these mods on it. I mean, we're able to put in some damage. That's not terrible. Let's see how it handles a raider. Getting slaughtered here. The other problem with this weapon ends up being is just the reset time. You have to really draw this. I mean, you're really talking a lot of time in between shots. Getting average 6-7 damage on these guys with some armor. All right, let's get into the makeshift crossbow here. That's 23 off the rip. 27. 27. We'll hit for the 12 here. Certainly, I expected this to outperform our bow pretty significantly. Just with damage. Just total damage. That was kind of not a foregone conclusion, but shoot this thing. We're getting 31 here. Setup time, there's still a little bit. That's really consistent on 31. Let's hit the regular crossbow. They both feel about the same in terms of setup and in terms of action to shot. But we're seeing 44 damage out of this regular crossbow, which is honestly pretty good when you think about it. There's 62 there. Let's see what we get on the big guys here. 54. 54. These are going to be much more consistent. There is no draw time here. You just fire. So we were getting 54 with the regular crossbow there. This is probably going to be pretty consistent 38s. This is not bad. This is not bad when you consider a few things here. What I also wanted to do as part of this was do a little testing in relation to a few other guns. Ow, I got punched. So one that I thought would be interesting to take a look at is this is a fully modified Winchester. And we're clicking off 23 damage per shot here. Very consistently with that. Let's see if we can get... We're hitting some crits there. 26 on these guys. Cargo value increased. I also want to take a look at the zip gun at 13. Now a little double shot action. Both of these, the Winchester and the zip gun we have, are fully modified as well. Now, certainly a much faster reaction speed in terms of shooting. So with the guns, obviously you're getting just a better overall turn. Even with the zip gun is probably about the same speed as the bow, maybe slightly faster. As we take a look at it, it's at a 1 speed. This is at a 0.9. And again, we have these two things fully decked out comparative to the 0.6 that we were getting for both of those. And then compare that to the speed of a Glock, which is at a 4. Katana's at a 1.3 for the wind up and the swing. So, honestly, kind of interesting, and I'm glad I did a little bit of testing here. Early on, I want to take one more look at the modification requirements or the build requirements for this. So a bow, pretty low recommendation for me still. Relatively happy with the damage, and the power shot actually seemed to be pretty good. Almost died. This has a long delay reset in between the shots, but the shot itself is very, very quick. I was trying to do a demonstration, big man, okay? Trying to talk here. Bow, pretty low on the recommendation scale. If you are in an absolute bind for a ranged weapon, this can do it. It's just not very great, and you would need a lot of the modifications, I think, to make this really worth your while. That being said, as we take a look at the makeshift crossbow, I'm pretty pleased overall with the damage on this. And when you consider you need some pretty basic materials to put this together, the only thing that probably would take you just some extra level of refinement is going to be making nails, because you have to turn that into iron and then subsequently turn that from that point and up into nails. Obviously, you have to take wood and turn them into pine planks. Aluminum wire early on can be a little bit scarce, but not so scarce that you couldn't make this work. I'm actually very pleasantly surprised with this. I think doing some makeshift crossbows, doing some runs with these, I'd be interested to see like a bunker alpha run. We might do that here in the near future. Take this guy in with just essentially nothing else, just a whole bunch of these, and just see how effective we can be at taking things down with these crossbows. I think this is a really good addition. Now, certainly, if you have the capability or you want to be different, you can also find these crossbows. Transport Hub seems to be a really, really good place to pick these up in a handful of the crates that can drop or be scattered around. So you might see these if you're at the point where you're using or clearing Transport Hub pretty consistently. This is pretty solid. I mean, the DPS on this crossbow is solid. I would not be too upset about that. And as we take a look, durability, this crossbow is definitely holding up a lot better, but makeshift crossbow also was kind of holding its own. And when we do a comparison of these things next to, for instance, a zip gun, you are much better off making a couple of makeshift crossbows comparative to this zip gun. 10 out of 10. Would not even recommend thinking about this. The zip gun is not worth the steel and the springs, in my opinion, for the damage. Even with good modifications on it, you're going to be getting way over value here for what you're spending to make this crossbow comparative to this zip gun. A Winchester, I don't think is even in. I don't even think it's in the makeable list. I think if they did introduce the Winchester and allow it to be buildable, and it was somewhere kind of in between the zip gun and, let's say, a Glock in terms of parts, like Glock titanium bars. Come on, guys, like really? I can understand why you need springs and factory parts because this is like barrels and bulk carrier groups and firing pins and all that kind of stuff. Gunpowder, all that stuff seems to be fine. Carbon composite for the grip. That's all cool. Titanium, like, okay, come on. We're not really putting titanium in these things, but I digress. If the Winchester was buildable in between the zip gun and, let's say, the Glock and was reasonably, I'm gonna call it, priced for the build requirement for the damage it does, you could have a toss up between maybe that and like a crossbow, for instance. Depending on how many factory parts, how many springs it was required, how much advanced metals were needed to do that. But I would really strongly suggest and make some considerations towards this makeshift crossbow. Um, I'm not going to sit here and say this is an absolute game changer, but even just coming to go, and let's say you brought a few of these to come clear this here farm, I feel like you could be pretty successful. We're talking, I mean, full on 50 damage. The range on this is pretty good. Now, the thing that's going to hold these weapons back that are going to suffer a little bit from some of your other more traditional actual guns is the fact that you can't get any modifications on this. Imagine if you could boost the crit rate on this, and a little bit of the durability while also making this. I would really recommend this thing. I mean, this is doing solid damage. It's got a bit of a setup to fire, so that is the drawback. But even on these big savage giants, you can keep your distance pretty well. You get attacked, you can get 2 shots in. I'm genuinely, and I would never lie to you because I don't believe in that. I am actually genuinely impressed with this. Now, I would like to be able to see a sneak critical attack. I think also with this could be really nice. That first shot being able to deal some extra damage, I think should be something that is applied to these types of weapons, these ranged weapons. Durability seems to be okay. I mean, we're taking out some big enemies. We're getting some damage in. Again, I'm actually quite impressed. And the range on the makeshift crossbow looks to be slightly better than here this crossbow. And again, this is totally unmodified. This thing is going to kill me if I'm not careful. I should take it out. That was a little dicey shooting that. Now, I definitely do believe if we were to take a close look at this, durability is going to be better here on the crossbow. But that might just be a factor of having higher overall durability. Per shot, it's looking close to the same, maybe slightly less. And this thing is actually doing some work. I have been impressed with this crossbow, using it during the Hunter's Instinct event. This was probably the most consistent weapon we used outside of machetes, actually. And I've been happy, really happy with this. I think this is going to suffer from the same thing where it would be good if we could get a crit hit. I also think, again, the range on this has a little bit to be desired. So that is something that if we got additional mods for these crossbows here in the future, upgrading the stock, putting a sight on these, upgrading the strings, I think, they've got some options, just like the bows. That could present some really, really good opportunities. And then, makeshift crossbow and even this crossbow in general, I would be fine if they throwed some of the blueprints in here for here in the farm, because I think these could be great weapons to take this down, and certainly some options to use there again in Bunker Alpha. I think you could find yourself using the makeshift crossbow really effectively against frenzy giants and not be mad at the exchange of resources that you were dropping in here. So I'm pretty satisfied. I'm actually really impressed. I'm really impressed with a few of these weapons. Makeshift crossbow being the biggest one. And again, as we take a look at building these, this is cheap. This is cheap. When you go to compare it, especially to something even, similar-ish in damage, I guess. Metal pipe is probably a good comparison. Unmodified. Machete is probably a shade more damage. Actually, no, that's not true. I think the makeshift crossbow has a DPS that is generally higher unmodified than the machete. Machete gets the bonuses of having extra crit chance and some other things with some mods that you're able to throw on. But I mean, you take a look at this. This is some very basic resources in your iron, your pine, and your leather. Then you come in over here. You're essentially spending the same there. You're using more materials, but benefit of this ends up being is the range. Range is so good at keeping yourself alive, saving armor durability, doing all of those things. This very much feels like it's worth crafting as we kind of get through here. Like I said, I would probably shy away from the crossbow. I think your resources are better spent. But if you want a fun weapon to go tackle some enemies, this thing is really cool. It looks great. I will say that too. It looks extra neat. And aesthetics is certainly not everything, but is a little bit of it. And then you got the zip gun here, which just isn't great. I mean, it's okay. It's okay. There's certainly worse weapons in the game. There are definitely better ones. Let me know what you think. I hope this little testing episode was interesting for you. I really wanted to give this a go because I thought this would be pretty fun actually to give a try and to kind of see how some of these weapons folded out. And I'm actually very pleasantly surprised and happy that we did. I know I've been saying that. I did not expect the crossbows to kind of measure up. I knew the crossbow itself was going to measure up fine. Again, just with some recent experience using it, I am really happy with the makeshift crossbow and think that is a great inclusion. I also am a firm believer in giving some additional ranged options. I think that is something that, as you progress in your journey and as you move forward in Last Day on Earth, you get farther in, you get your levels, you do that kind of thing. The thing that sets you back, or sets a lot of people back from being able to progress in some of the harder locations, is having good ranged options, right? And then even with that, basic Glocks are fantastic, M16s. You can do a lot with basic guns, but having a crossbow, having a ranged weapon that you can make, generally pretty easy, that's going to give you good DPS if you're smart about your time and how you go about tackling those locations. I think you could actually find a ton of success early on using virtually no guns. And that is a really, really interesting thing to say when you consider that you could pump these crossbows out pretty quick, pretty efficiently early on with just a few workbenches and a little bit of time. Obviously, you'd have to farm up the necessary resources to do that and support those things. But let me know what you think. I'm really, really curious to hear what you think about this. If you've had some experience in the recent Hunter's Instinct event, utilizing that weapon, throwing the mod on it, and just kind of seeing how it felt for you. I feel like probably in that event, like most, we're using it probably against the animals, so maybe we didn't get to see its true combat potential, if you will, in those scenarios against actual zombies. But happy with it when you consider that these are essentially doing the same damage. That makeshift crossbow is doing the same damage as a melee here with this katana. That speaks pretty high. That speaks pretty high values. I'm not gonna lie. Certainly it's not rivaling something like this Glock here with such a high attack speed, but I wouldn't be mad at it. I wouldn't be mad at it. So what do we get here? Sidearm knife. Cool. There's a little blueprint action. But yeah, let me know. Let me know. Very, very curious to hear your feedback and your thoughts on this, and I hope this little testing episode was pretty fun. I think I am going to go ahead and in a future video, I'm going to give it a run. I'm going to take it over to Bunker Alpha. We'll take a handful of them, probably bring some melee weapons, and we'll just see how effective it is at clearing through some of these locations, because that could be pretty fun, pretty interesting to give a look-see and see how that goes. So I'm going to finish up grabbing the items here since we went ahead and cleared Crooked Creek Farm. We did pick up a good bit of supply points, so that is nice. Make sure you're getting out there, getting supply done. Actually, by the time this video goes up, I don't know if this will still be going on, so I do apologize for that. We're doing some pre-recording. We're going to be off on vacation for a little while, so I want to make sure our content is set up to continue to flow. Hopefully you don't see any delays in any of that. And I thought this would be a fun one to share with you while we're out doing that and setting up for a few other videos as well. So make sure you're staying tuned. with that whole thing going on. We just recently posted a video as well, probably at the end of last week, covering some potential update news. Well, actually some true update news that we don't have a ton of details on, related to season update, how season rewards are going to work, and how some of the tasks and things are going to be separated a little differently. I am very interested to see what that is actually going to look like when it comes to fruition. It has the potential to be really, really good. I will say that. It has the potential to be really, really solid, and I think a good thing for people, especially with the seasons and their rotation, giving some options to pick some rewards, and giving a little bit more flexibility, I will say, to completing things. Sounds like they're going to move things into like weekly tasks, or be a little bit less restrictive around timing, which could be fantastic, I think, and is a really, really good move. But time will tell, so we'll have to wait on that. But if you're interested in going to check that video out and you missed it, might flash up a card here near the end of this video, and you can pop over there, give it a look-see. So more to come here. Last Day on Earth, we're doing our free-to-play series as well. That is absolutely just popping off. We've got some awesome updates to share with you here, probably the week that this video is going up, and hopefully you're excited. I'm excited. It's always cool to get some progress and to make some moves there, and that account is having some pretty good success at doing that. So if you're interested, lots of episodes if you haven't checked it out, to go give it a look-see. And yeah, I think we'll wrap this one up here. A little bit of a shorter video, so do apologize for that, but thank you so much for spending a few minutes of your day with me. I'm gonna flash some socials, like, comment, subscribe. We also do have a Discord, links in the description if you want to come join us over there. Great way to stay up to date with the channel, as well as get Last Day on Earth news. We have a Last Day on Earth channel actually in our Discord that pulls all official update news from the Last Day on Earth Discord. So if you want to have a good place to come check out, see when that stuff is posted and going live, and when they're throwing out updates and news, pretty good one for you to consider. So help us get to 10K, big milestone for the year. Likes and comments are always very much appreciated. And another good way to help just, support the channel, click another video. That really helps us. Watch it. It really does. You might not think that, but it really, really does. So thank you so much again for all the support. Hopefully this was a fun and interesting one for you, and we'll be sure to catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.